So we're here with what should be the final session for this. You just have one section left. Neither hero passionately declares, Power Ballet Diva. Oh, okay. Yes, that song. In her epic song from the 1980s, and in listening, I cannot help but be swept along with the drama and fantasy too. How do you visualize your heroes? When you close your eyes, do you conjure a white knight upon a fiery steed? A strapping Herculean type, fearlessly laboring away at the legendary tasks. And every man removing their spectacles, ripping off their shirt, and leaping off a tall building in a single bound. Yes, thank goodness for those classes. Or maybe you imagine a morally gray, roguish type who eventually overcomes their own self-interest to fight the good fight, or the unassuming fellow who just steps out their door one morning and is swept up in adventure and becomes a warrior and savior, despite themselves. Or the unsung heroes quietly doing the work sans the Alucards, making the world a better place. They're not a one-size-fits-all phenomenon. We need only look at artists' works across the centuries and observe the paragons and protectors of humanity as they carry out their dynamic deeds, immortalized the world over, from realms at risk, from a wicked usurper, to a world overrun by extraterrestrial aliens, ancient prophecies, evil plots, uncommon quests, and vaguely defined cataclysms, or very specifically spelled out calamities poised to befall a people or a community. Grandiose deeds of heroes preserved in myth, literature, and legend were the primary narratives from which artists, from the Renaissance painters like Raphael to symbolists such as Gustave Moreau, drew their inspiration. These powerful characters and their exceptional undertakings and accomplishments star in larger-than-life stories through which artists share moral lessons. Heroes, of course, generally reflect the values and ideals of their society, but these traits and qualities change over time in response to history's hallmarks and dramatic upheavals. Over time, after the French Revolution, for example, artists responded, dismissing mythical subjects in favor of everyday people as artistic subjects worthy of attention. Imagined in monumental, heroic terms, when push comes to shove, aren't we all capable of courage and conviction, selflessness and sacrifice? For all that, we must be careful when paying homage to our heroes. They are far from perfect, sometimes tragically flawed. And there is a fine line between good and evil, heroism and villainy. After all, don't some of the most diabolical villains believe they're acting for the greater good? Fantasy is flush with the stories of heroes and the battles against the bad guy. They're meant to view the hero and villain as opposite ends of the spectrum of ethics and morality. But are they really so different? Sometimes the good guys are ruthless and brutal, and sometimes we sympathize with the villains for their relatability or compelling stories, which makes the villain a deliciously tempting subject for the artist's imagination as well. Are there fantastical heroes, whether via the gravitas of a work of classical art, a fate fixed immovably in the sculpt of a comic book stone, the contemporary mythology of the pages of a comic book. We identify with characters and archetypes that strive for greatness. We grow as they grow, and through them we see the potential for change in ourselves and the world around us. Heroes continue to delight us and excite us for reasons both inspirational and aspirational, and because, well, they just look really cool. Celebrated figure in the bohemian world of Paris, Marie Landstrom painted soft pastel women, figures influenced by both cubism and fauvism, but in gentle flowing lines and a delicate color palette, indicative of a style utterly and intrinsically her own. Why should I paint dead fish onions and beer glasses? Girls are so much prettier, Laurenson is said to have exuberantly remarked. Sentiment evident in her preferred subject matter, which can also be applied to her feminine grooming aesthetic. The artist was an attendee of the unconventional salons hosted by writer Natalie Clifford Barney. Where Korean bisexual women artists and writers mingled and expressed their creativity, setting Barney visualized being the alternate realm of a sapphic utopia. Certainly Lawrenson stylized paintings of the Amazons, these mythic warriors and legendary exemplars of archetypical female strength, were inspired by these provocative gatherings. Try something really quick. And now, I don't think I can access it from here. A beloved Swedish folklore annual and children's fairy tale anthology first published in 1907 and which continues to this day. Among Gnomes and Trolls notes John Bauer as one of its earliest and best-known illustrators. Bauer's atmospheres of mossy melancholia and gentle foreboding abound, with the artist's boulder-shaped troll folk. In this scene we have a handsome knight in all his finery, sitting ramrod straight on horseback. In this strange, sad tale by Gianna Ordhal, a knight lost in the forest encounters a simple farm girl who helps him find the way back. Our perception of the typical knight is one encompassing values of chivalry and courage of heart. Perhaps this fellow possessed all of these things, and yet it was the farm girl who got him out of trouble. The lesson: heroes come in many packages, and not all of them look like this guy here. Not everybody survives the story. An enduring legend in the pantheon of heroes, capturing the imaginations of both scholars of history and the general public. Robin Hood is a cultural icon with a timeless appeal. Whether or not he was a real person who once existed remains a robust debate. Whatever the age, and imaginary or not, we always need the hope of someone who will stand up for the oppressed and those without a voice. Chivalric bandits and anti-heroes who challenge the arrogance of those in power. Pursuit of justice for all. Richard Dodd sketched this outlaw archer 170 years ago at the time of this writing, living in the enforced seclusion of his stay at Bethlehem Hospital. But this charismatic champion of the people will no doubt be reincarnated and adapted for the future indefinitely. There's a pervasive sense of melancholy shrouding the subjects of the paintings by Atsuko Goto, inspired by traditional Japanese visual culture and techniques. Otherworldly gloom influenced every expression, every texture, every shadow of movement or stillness, as if the spectral figures conjured to the canvas are only there for a short while and then whisked back to the invisible land of spirits and shades after they have done the artist's bidding, as prescribed by the intricate rituals woven, unseen but physically resonating throughout those delicate watercolor brushstrokes, as if this skilled and decorated warrior in ceremonial finery embellished with glittering castles and charms and sophisticated spells of protection has appeared only long enough to vanquish a villainous foe, to slay a bloodthirsty monster, to defy the gods themselves as humanity's solitary champion, and then is cast once more back into the mist. In the diptych Glory to the Hero by Nicholas Roerch, we observe on one side a contemplative nun experiencing a quiet, spiritual moment in the solitude and stillness of a somber corridor, and the other side reveals a luminous, almost animated stained glass woman soaring above a sleeping city on horseback, figure reminiscent of Joan of Arc. This painting is reflective of Roerch's interest in the art of medieval and Byzantine periods. Although technically traditional medieval diptychs consisted of two independent panels joined together, whereas Roerch paints the division as a single column. We can infer that Roerch had an interest in Joan of Arc, having completed a triptych titled in her name in 1931. But overall, Roerch, a bit of a mystic himself, was fascinated with mythic saints in general. The Shahnameh, with its 50,000 rhyming couplets, is a massive epic of world literature, acclaimed even in its own time for its incredible imagery, an interplay of lore and history. This capricious poem by Abul Qasim Firdausi narrates the history of the ancient kings of Iran and the mythical origins to the Arab conquest in 651 CE, a tome of fabulous tales that examine the nature of good versus evil, with kings and heroes engaged in battles against monstrous enemies and supernatural creatures. It is also a meditation on the human experience and our own internal struggles, as well as an example of a mirror for princes intended to offer models of conduct and rulership for the edification of rulers. This fierce painting illustrates the last of the legendary hero Rustam's various trials, his defeat of the chief of demons, the White Div. The Valkyrie Brunhilde's story is a bit of a soap opera, the sort of titillating drama of betrayal and vengeance one imagines that Asgardians might sit around and gossip about over golden apples and mead. A Valkyrian shield maiden, one who chooses among the slain in battlefields those who are worthy of glorious Valhalla, whilst calls out the power of causing death to those they do not favor. Brunhilde's is one of among many tales of these valorous women, seen as transformative agents, both arbiters of fate and psychopomps. Through her, the saga of rebellion and revenge remains among the most popular. To Wagner's Der Ring des Nibelungen, 4 epic operas based on these mythological intrigues are accompanied by a series of illustrations by Arthur Rackham, one of the most celebrated painters of the golden age of illustration. The work of contemporary artist Andrea Rushing is driven by a profound interest in the human condition. Rendered with strength, beauty, and compassion, Rushing's rich insights into human nature come alive on the canvas in the work of vibrant portraiture. It speaks to destiny, history, and one's place in the world. Recognized as a keeper of culture by the San Diego African American Museum of Fine Art for artistic and cultural work, uplifting the region's Black community, Rushing notes that he desires for his work to be a place of departure, where, in looking out at the world, people may work to understand themselves a bit better. African Warrior is a cover art for Griots, Sisters of the Spear, a sword and soul fantasy anthology of the Africa that was, as well as Africas that never were. The legends and sagas sung in celebration to the spirit and bravery of women of color. Two individuals who work together as a single award-winning artist, Jim and Ruth Keegan, work in a variety of styles and media, including oil, watercolor, ink wash, and digital art. Well known as the creators of the Adventures of Two Gun Bob, which appears in every issue of Conan, Solomon Kane, or Cole from Dark Horse Comics, here they have created a dynamic pin-up of the brawny barbarian Conan in all his pulpy glory, contending with some sort of flying Hyborian age horror. And the delightful watercolor paintings of Warwick Goebel, drawn by fans of fairy tales at the turn of the 20th century, and his books of vivid illustration remain favorites of readers even today. And the paddling feet of many gnomes a-coming appeared in The Book of Fairy Poetry, an anthology filled with fantastical writings from beloved authors and poets such as Tolkien, Shakespeare, Stevenson, and Yeats. The poem for which these gnomes marched was penned by Tolkien before he went away to fight in the bloody Battle of the Somme and witness atrocities and brutalities that he would never forget, imagery which eventually made its way into his later writings. When we read of the gaiety and enchantment of these tiny dancing feet, our hearts feel that old, thrilling cackle of magic, an electrifying, exhilarating shiver that, while it won't go very far to resolve our planet's various warring factions, reminds us of the things that heal our hearts, transcends the horror of humanity. Inspired by mythology and music, dreams, and childhood stories, the works of Tina Rodriguez are jubilant celebrations of ecstatic divinity, colorful butterfly fluttered paradises, and brilliant floral explosions, sanctuaries for explorations of creative consciousness that transcends borders and language, personal transformation, and universal connectedness are themes that tumble throughout Tina's work. Like so many spring blossoms on a sweet laughing breeze, reminders that a hero's work. This whole business of saving the world often starts small, eternally, even one precious human petal at a time. Humble work of healing oneself is quiet and invisible, and frequently doesn't look or feel very good. If you ever doubt, even for a minute, the existence of magic is real, you need only look to the infinite grandeur of the perpetual technicolor sunset suffusing the landscapes of Andy Kehoe's awe-inspiring Otherworlds. These feverish horizons ignite imagination and fill our hearts with wonder and possibilities. When we survey these vibrant vistas and the celestial melodrama unfolding on the horizon, when we envision ourselves slipping into the souls of the shadowy denizens of these worlds, taking in that spellbinding view, breathing, even if just for the sacred span of mere seconds, the air of this extraordinary space. What a holy moment, what a miracle to allow ourselves to see through another's eyes and behold a world worth saving. To not only appreciate but actively embrace that connection with the beings in these unreal and unimaginable places, and practice that compassion and empathy for your own world and its myriad inhabitants as well. This has a pretty strong finish actually in this one. The other two, it really felt like they just petered out. Also, it's like a really cohesive last section, which is a lot better than the 2 or 3 we'd read previously. Actually, maybe more. Because, yeah, in the second half of part 2, and for most of part 3, I felt they were very muddly. And no clear reason for a lot of the pieces being in the sections they were. A lot of just overlapping themes that she didn't really do a good job in differentiating, which is a surprising disappointment because from the previous 2 books, I'd felt her sense of curation was very strong and was a key point in the enjoyment I got from the book. So it's kind of just surprising that that sense of curation, I didn't feel it for most of this book. Although I still did enjoy, overall, I think the art in this book the most of her 3. Yeah, we do have a bit of time left as I expected, so we'll go ahead and maybe do 2 or 3, depending on if there's any questions. Oh, no, I don't think we actually ever read through the book properly. So maybe we'll go ahead and do that. We did read this intro before, so we'll go ahead and skip that. That's kind of cute that these just represent, the metallic and chromatic dragons. I do like that they carry the conceit that, you know, jesters making uh, corrections, well, quote corrections and embellishments throughout this. This, well, I feel like for the most part it's actually been better, but um, stuff like this, um, no, it's kind of why I tend to not actually read any of these books because they're so often just so on the nose that um, um, it's just like, you know, it just really ends up disappointing you since it's like, um, it's just like, yeah, okay, just, you know, it's just like, you know, you go for these because you don't want the thing that you would just reach out for first yourself. That's right, she did do like that sort of Beetlejuice thing uh, for it. Did it actually show up when she did it? I don't remember. Uh, Maybe I'll go ahead and read these, the Jester only ones, since it should be a bit more interesting. Card of the Age, the Maiden, Youth, Innocence, Exuberance, Cupcakes, of course, cupcakes. The crowd experience perspective, maybe like really long ears. I can't quite read that last top word. Growth and rot, the card of the wild mother. Life blossoming of the earth to plant spring and summer. Rot, entropy, things fall apart to reap autumn and winter. Well, this is also helpful for me uh, because when I did the reading about Aiken yesterday, I pulled one of these, I think this one actually, of these Jester cards, and I couldn't actually read uh, it on the card really. Death and Dawn. the card of the matron. Death. I mean, this basically means death, okay? But that's not usually a bad thing. Okay, I do really like that. Uh, Dawn, there's always hope, and the darkness leads to light, new beginnings. Joel and the Thief. The card of the prize. Jewel, wealth, desire, the thing that you want most. Thief, what you seek is not where you think it is, and it may be a tricky guest. Spark and blaze, the card of fire. Spark, something responsible for this. Maybe you, maybe some asshole. Blaze, sometimes there are consequences, sometimes they hurt. So that's something I like about this concept, I guess, that differentiates it and also kind of a lot more helpful. I'm not sure if I've seen it before where it's, something's the card of this. I do like that as a concept, since I guess normally you just think of the card is of what it says it is. We'll see if some accidentally made it, because yesterday I forgot there were empty, the blank cards when I started shuffling, but I think I got all of them back out. So unfortunately, at least the two questions I have are pretty boring, but just what's on my mind right now, so I can't really help it.
Hello, how are you? Hello. Are you guys mocha? No, we have mocha. Is it still only on for your house? I haven't ordered yet. So I wanted to make sure you had it. Did Amy get you your drink the other day? Yes. Yeah, that was me. Well, thank you. You didn't have to do that. I figured you were wasting one.
So I don't know how to describe it. I'm not sure if I like it or not. This card back almost like feels like felt. It's just this very interesting texture, which it doesn't really look like it. I think it looks like a normal card back, but it's really this really interesting card to describe texture. It's sort of soft.
It's 280 on 3 something. Exactly, yeah. Alright, well, what's
Oh,
your
this is useless or Miffy. Oh, there was one that I didn't get out of there, but that's fine. That's interesting. I'll go ahead and leave that in. Maybe I'll Mm. We'll go ahead and, just for fun, redraw one card for that middle card. For alternative view, I guess. Oh, you know, I think as well, for that blank card that we drew today, I'll keep that in. And I don't know why I think it's funny. It's probably just the most boring thing I could think of, but you know, just put choice one one side and choice two the other. But so this is house or kitty.
Thank you very much.
So I think I kind of tried to put stuff in different directions, but I'm not sure. Oh, and there's that gesture card with the cupcake included. So one thing I don't like about this deck is I think they did just the right amount if they were doing it, but like there are certain cards where it's just okay, which I guess a lot of people might have been disappointed if they didn't include any, but like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, well, I guess also it is supposed to be you know, personally made deck by Catechus. Or, no, Mollymuck. So I guess that would be one thing to include. But yeah, it just feels like, you know, sort of weird that, like, you know, you've got these characters included in the grand scheme of things in their own world aren't really that, at least, you know, if you think of you know, the figures that are represented on our cards, you know. All right, but that is it for today. I I did get a new game, so I think that's what we'll start on tomorrow. We'll see if I can get back into looking at games and not just feeling bored. Bad sign if I feel bored myself of it. I think I just did like too many at once. Also, I guess just going back to more conventional lines after, you know, we did Morkborg and Shadow Dark and stuff like that. That's just really different. And out there, it just feels like, why am I covering it? But this is a Well, I don't know how conventional it is. We'll have to find that out together. But yeah, that's my plan for. Well, it won't be tomorrow, most likely. It'll probably be Wednesday. But that'll be it for today.